Hi guys, Valencia Johnson here. Just trying to do my presentation for the paper that I wrote, which was on alcohol and drug abuse. I'm gonna have to use my laptop to kind of help me get this going because my printer unfortunately had stopped working and I was unable to get it out. But basically, my paper was about alcohol and drug abuse, and I chose this topic because it was something that was kind of near and dear to my heart. Um, I'll start out by telling you guys um, a little bit about my current situation. My father um, was recently hospitalized. He's currently in a nursing home right now, but he was hospitalized with hepatic encephalopathy. Now, I know that is like a huge, huge word, but basically, what the physicians explained to me is it's where your liver shuts down and it refuses to um, rid itself of all of the toxins that have built up, and what it does is it causes your ammonia level to rise really, really high. And your ammonia level is something that helps kind of control your memory and your thinking and all that stuff. Well, apparently he had went on a drinking binge, and he's also uses crack cocaine. But one particular day he had gone overboard. He passed out, didn't know where he was just pretty much out of his mind. So he was rushed to the hospital, and he was in there for a week before I ever found out because none of my family members called to let me know. But uh, nonetheless, I was able to find out and kind of work with the doctors. And he went to a nursing home, um, and they pretty much all they did was gave him lactose, or pretty much it was a laxative to help him rid himself of all those things. He hasn't gained 100% of his memory. He still has those lapses where he thinks that he's in a place that he's not. He keeps saying that somebody's trying to sell his house, and he doesn't even have a house. So um, that's why I chose this paper, because alcoholism is something that my father has suffered with for as long as I can remember. And I didn't really get to know him until I was probably 5 years old. And he was in and out of my life for, for many, many years, all the way up until I got married and everything. So, but I love my dad unconditionally. There is nothing that he could ever do to make me stop loving him. He is my one and only. Even though he lives way in Longview and I'm here in Dallas, I do what I can do to make sure that he is okay. So, me choosing this topic was very it was something that I just felt like I needed to do. Um, I I really don't know how to begin this, but um, I think that I'm sorry for using a little bit. I'm kind of nervous. um, Please forgive me, but this is something that I think has to be talked about, because for those of us that have children, and some of us that have grandchildren, it's very important that we try to build a strong structure for them so that when they go out and they turn 21 and they're able to drink, they don't go overboard. It's something that when I was in school, they talked about it quite a bit. We had Red Ribbon Week, which means that we agreed to stay drug free. We weren't going to touch any drugs. We weren't going to go in areas that had drugs. So it was pretty much just their way of sheltering us from a lot of things. I think that children still need to know what alcoholism looks like. They need to know what drug abuse looks like. They need to have a very broad picture of what these things are. So I think we as parents sometimes have to get involved. One thing when I was going back over my paper that came to mind was that, you know, back in the days when Jesus was walking the earth, he turned water into wine, and wine was a drink that was used at all the festivities, the weddings, the parties. It was something that was not um, it was not something that was abused, um, but it was something that was there. I think we remember when Noah got drunk and he had his episode where he walked around naked, and his sons had to go in and cover him up, but because they didn't do their part and say something to him, and they kind of went out and laughed about it and everything, then they had to suffer the consequences of what their father did. So alcohol can impair your judgment. It can make you do things that you otherwise wouldn't have done. So it's pretty much something that's been around for quite a long time. I don't know if anybody can remember. Well, I don't remember because I wasn't there. But in the 1920s, when they began the Prohibition campaign, and the 18th Amendment was established to prohibit alcohol. So if it was bad then and it's bad now, then obviously there's a problem, and the problem needs to be addressed. I don't think that it's going to happen overnight. I think that it's something that's going to take time. Um, at the beginning of my paper, I pretty much was saying, how many of us have been invited out to happy hour? How many of us go to the store and we see aisles full of beer and wine? How many liquor stores or beer and wine stores have popped up recently in places that were normally dry, places that otherwise did not have alcohol in them? I mean, a lot of people don't realize that although wine is wine and it's fermented from grapes and everything, it still contains a small amount of alcohol. And if you drink too much, you can get drunk. That's why Jesus said, "Be not drunk with wine," because he knew that it was something that could be consumed and it could cause you to be impaired. So I think that we need to really look at some things that we can do to make this better and to help people that are addicted to alcohol, to kind of come over that. I went to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, and it said that there were 17 million adults over the age of 18 that abuse alcohol. This number does not even include children under the age of 18. So you can imagine if there's 17 million people that are over the age of 18 that abuse alcohol, then just think how many children are actually doing it. Because studies have shown that children as young as 12 are currently drinking alcohol, and it's pretty much because it's accessible. I'll go so far as to say that I have alcohol in my house. It's something that my husband and we purchase for times that we're going to have company. And also my husband, because he is a limo driver, a lot of times he has to go and purchase it for his clients, and then they end up having excess alcohol, and then he brings it home. So we have it stored up. But the one thing that I can say about my husband is he does not drink. And if he does drink, he may drink one drink maybe every 6 to 8 months. So it's not something that we do on a regular basis, and we have instilled in our children that it's not something that you should do all the time to a point of where you have lost your abilities to function properly, and you're not aware of your surroundings, because as we know that that's how the date rape drug is usually used. It's used in drinks, and most of the time it's in alcohol. So we need to really instill that in our children. I also read this article um, that was called Alcohol Use, Abuse, and Treatment in People of African Descent. This was a very, very interesting article to me because it kind of broke down the percentages of the people that use it, and it says that 40% of African Americans aged 12 or older reported that they used alcohol. 55% of Caucasian people 12 and older said that they used it. So that means that it's just not limited to one race. We can't say that African Americans use it more than Caucasians, and we can't really say that Caucasians use it more than Hispanics. I mean, it's a something that is across the board, and I think that it's an environmental makeup. It's more of a makeup of how we are in our society. Sometimes, it's true what they say, we are a product of our environment. So if we are in an environment where there's a lot of alcohol and drug abuse, then quite naturally it's going to be one of those things where the children will become involved in it as well, because more than anything they want to be perceived as being cool. They don't want to be that person that says, oh, you know I'm outcast because I don't do what the other kids do. And peer pressure is really one of the leading causes of children being on alcohol and doing drugs. Peer pressure and bullying and all those things are factors that kind of tie into the use of alcohol and drugs. And we really need to work on trying to combat those issues as well. I don't think that it has anything to do with the child just saying, "Oh, I wanna grow up and be an alcoholic." I don't think that they ever do that when they're growing up. It's not something that anybody has an ambition to do. I think it's just the environment that they're in. So that's why I try to always keep my children interested in some type of sports. I remember many years, I think for probably about 10 years straight, my children were active in track and field. They were active in soccer, volleyball, basketball. I tried to keep them in things that would prevent them from being out and about with kids that did not have the same interest as them. So I really think that what I did for my children helped them to grow into the children that they are. I do have I do have 5 children, so it wasn't hard. It wasn't easy. I have 4 girls and 1 boy, and they all had their different personalities. But I knew my children well enough to know that I can sit and tell you which ones will do something and which ones won't do something. My oldest, very rambunctious child, and she didn't go against the grain, but she did have her moments where um, she got caught up, and it caused her to do some things that she shouldn't have done. But nonetheless, we reeled her back in, and she's a very good person now. She's staying on her own, and she's made a pretty good life for herself, and I think that's pretty good. Um, some of the other things that I want to touch on um, right now is part of my service learning project I did. I went out with the Order of Eastern Stars to what they do every year is they pass out toiletry bags, and they pass out socks, blankets, and hats and scarves and stuff to the homeless. And while we were out doing that, it just so happened that we were at I don't know if how many of you are familiar with Dallas, but downtown they have an area that is called Tent City. And Tent City is made up of just a lot of homeless people and they live in these tents up under the I-45 bridge. And it's not far from City Square, which is another one of the local nonprofit organizations that work with the homeless. And we were down there, and the city of Dallas has a team called the Crisis Intervention Team, and they go down periodically and they check with everybody, all of the people that are there, and they ask them, do you want to come in and go to a shelter? Do you suffer from drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and are you willing to go into a treatment program? And what they do is they advocate on behalf of that person that otherwise would not be accepted into that program. And I didn't really physically interview this guy, but I kind of walked around with the crisis intervention person, Mr. Adams, and we came across a guy named Bill. He said that his name was Bill. I don't know that it wasn't, and I don't have a reason to believe that it wasn't Bill. But Bill was very adamant about wanting help. He wanted help. He said that he was addicted to heroin and he was addicted to alcohol, and he wanted help. His story kind of went like it was like this. He said, "I need help. I went to Parkland and they didn't do anything for me. I have a huge abscess on my arm and I have one on my toe, and these are the places that he uses to shoot the drugs." And he developed a large hematoma, and he thought that by him going to Parkland that they would offer him some type of assistance, but instead they didn't offer him assistance. They simply told him that they could give him some pain medication and they would send him on his way. But what he was seeking was help. So while we were there, Mr. Adams told him, he said, well, if you're really serious and you really want help, then why don't you follow me over to my van? And he said, well, I don't think that you're for real. You're not for real. I don't believe that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And we kind of walked along, and Mr. Adams said, yes, I am going to do what I said I'm going to do. All you have to do is join me. My van is parked right out on the curb here. And if you come and go with me, I can take you to the places that you need to get help. And he just said, not today. And my heart almost broke, because I'm like, okay, you really want help and you're saying that you can't do it on your own, pretty much is what you're saying. That's why you want the help, but you're not willing to take the help that's being offered. So at that point, I felt bad, but I couldn't feel bad because help was there and you didn't want help. And one thing that I have to realize is, and this is the same thing with my dad, he says that he wants help and he says that he wants to do better, but anytime help is there, he doesn't take it. They want it when they want it. In other words, they think that the situation is not so bad that they can't handle it, but it is so bad that they can't handle it. And that to me is a part of the denial process, because I think you're in denial because you're saying one thing but you're doing another, and it's totally contradictory of itself. I just so happened today, I was out and about, and guess who I saw? I saw Bill. And I stopped and I asked him if he was doing okay, and he said yes, he was fine. And I told him, I said, are you sure that you're fine? Because I still have Mr. Adams's card, and if you want help, then I don't mind calling and getting him to meet us here where we are. And he was like, well, no, I'm fine. And I said, okay, well, when I saw you the last time, you said that you were really interested in having help. And he said that when he's fully ready to receive help, he will. But he did tell me, and he was very clear on this, that I will get help when I'm ready to get help. I want it, but I want it in my own time. I don't want anybody to pressure me into doing something that I don't want to do. So at that point, all I could do was just really say a prayer for him, because it was sad, but yet it was true. So I just found some things interesting, and I wanted to kind of do this little project. I was looking in my cabinet the other day, and I found this little shot glass here. I collect shot glasses. This has always been my thing, shot glasses. So whenever somebody goes somewhere, this one here is from New Orleans. So I had a friend that went to New Orleans, and they brought me back this glass. So I said, okay, well let me see this little shot glass here, which doesn't look like it's very big. It's the long one. It's not the little wide one. How many cups? How many glasses would it take to fill up an exact cup? So it takes 4 of these to fill up a cup. And one whole cup is equivalent to 8 ounces. So if you think of this, and you drank 4 of these, that's equivalent to one 8-ounce glass of water. And then I went and I looked up on my cabinet and I found this. This is Jose Cuervo. I believe it's rum or tequila or something. It's been up there for quite a while. I forgot I had it. It's up on the refrigerator. And when I looked at it, it says it's 40% alcohol by volume, and it's 750 milliliters. So I was like, okay, this is a lot. But if you know anything about alcohol, this is an equivalent to 80 proof, which is very strong because I think the strongest that they have is like, it's like 150. So can you imagine a 12-year-old child drinking one of these, or maybe 4 of these, which is equivalent to a cup of this, which is 80 proof? So can you imagine what that's doing to them and how it would impair them? They're only probably 100 pounds soaking wet, and they're drinking this. I'll tell everybody how much I weigh. I weigh 200 pounds. And this one little glass would intoxicate me. So can you imagine a child drinking this? My dad drinks this all day, every day. If he's not drinking, well, I'll take that back. He doesn't drink this exact thing. He's an old school drinker. He drinks Thunderbird and MD 2020, that kind of stuff. But it still has a high volume of alcohol. So when we think about what we're doing to our bodies, it's amazing that what we're doing to ourselves, we're literally sometimes eating ourselves. We're eating at our insides. We're just eating out. We're destroying everything that God has prepared for us. Um, I don't know about drug addictions very much, but I do know that it causes problems too. I'll tell you a little story about my stepmom. My stepmom, she's an alcoholic and a drug abuser as well. Um, I don't know if any of you guys remember Schlitz Malt Liquor Bull, but she would drink the huge can of Schlitz Malt Liquor Bull starting from the time that she woke up to the time that she went to sleep. And now she has been diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver. She has gout. She has diabetes. She has high blood pressure. And to top it off, she's borderline schizophrenic. So for all these years, she's had issues, and she pretty much drank and did drugs to cover that up. She covered it up. She was trying to mask it, and she didn't realize that that's what she was doing until she tried to stop, and she ended up in the hospital as well. And it's just really, to me, it's kind of funny when you know that you're doing something that can harm your body, but yet you get up and you do it every day, all day, just because you can. Um, in my paper, I also went on to talk about some of the things when I looked at the different sociological explanations as far as the symbolic interactionist perspective and the functionalist perspective and the conflict perspective. I gave more weight to the conflict perspective because to me, everything that is done to make money. There is nothing that we do or nothing that companies do that is actually going to benefit us. It's all to make money. Um, Cigarettes, they make money. Alcohol, they make money. Prescription drugs, they make money. And all three of those things are addictive. Um, it was really surprising to me that when they did away with the tobacco commercials, how we thought the sales would have been low, but the sales are still pretty much the same. Even everything that they're doing to combat children from doing cigarette smoking and doing alcohol and doing drugs, they're finding ways to do it, but it's all um, for money. I don't know any other way to put it. It's all for money, and I think we're not in a terrible time and to where we can't come out of it, but I think we all need to just kind of sit back and look at the big picture of things. When in my paper I talked about how the church is to get involved in some of the things that go on and some of the things that can help prevent these things. I know at the church that I go to, we have a program called Harmony CDC. And what they do is they help counsel people that have issues. And the key is to first address the issue. What is your stressor? What is it that's causing you, Valencia, or anybody to use alcohol and drugs to combat the issues that you have or to suppress the issues that you have? So what they do is they try to get down to the root of it. Were you sexually abused? Were you bullied as a child? Are you having issues in your marriage? Are you being physically abused, mentally abused? So what they try to do is they try to key in on the stressor. And through that, they're able to help you get into maybe a drug addiction program or an Alcoholic Anonymous program or outpatient services where you can go and be around people that have the same issue that you have and you're able to talk about it. I think that, I think that that is a great help and it touches the lives, but there are not a lot of those things out there, or I don't think enough is being done to bring awareness to those type things. I think that we kind of sweep things under the rug when it comes to, I'm sorry, guys. I think we tend to sweep things under the rug because we say, oh, it doesn't affect me, so why should I? Why should I be worried about it? But when you see that person on the street that's begging for money, we can't naturally assume that that's what that they're begging for. I mean, they may have just been down on their luck and lost their job, or we don't know the situation, but we should open our eyes a little bit more when we're driving down the street and we see that person, and we should ask them, what way can I pray for you? And if you don't want me to physically pray for you here and now, can I get your name so that when I go into my prayer closet, in my secret closet to pray, that I can intercede on your behalf? And hopefully through intercession, we can break some of the bondages that the devil has set for us. And I do believe that alcoholism and drug abuse is of the devil. It's a way that he has warp the minds of the people to think that that is their God, because that is what they are looking for. They're looking for that person to make them feel whole and happy, and that tends to be what the drugs and alcohol are. So I just think that overall there's a lot to be done. I don't think that America is not doing enough. I don't know that they are doing enough. But I think that they could probably do more than what they're doing. So that was pretty much my paper in a nutshell. I don't want to go over my time. I'm already, kind of high in it. And I hope that I've said something to help somebody. I look forward to your comments. If you guys get to see this, I hope I can do it correctly. But I look forward to reading some of the comments. And for those of you that are graduating this December the 18th, I want to say congratulations. And for those of you that are not, I want to encourage you guys to keep pressing on. I know it seems hard because this semester was awfully hard for me, but I had to press on, and I was really thankful that we had an encouraging teacher to help motivate us to keep going. So for you guys that are not graduating, keep up the good work. I'm praying for you guys, and I hope that you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. All right, bye-bye.